One of the things that you're going to find yourself doing over and over again as you work with files and directories and so on is that there's a lot of information contained in paths. And you'll find yourself having to parse out paths to extract file names, or just the path portion, or just the directory name, or just the file name without the extension. And it turns out that the .NET Framework provides a helper class called the path class that makes a lot of these operations really simple. So if you look at the way a typical path is built, it has a predictable structure. And here's a sample path, and this may look different based upon the files you work with, but this is just a sample. So right at the front, there's the drive name, and it can be a letter followed by a colon followed by a backslash. The drive name is the root level of the path, and it's the disk or the location where a file is. That's followed by the path. This is the directory structure that specifies where a file is located. And this is usually a nested set of directories or folders, whatever you want to call them, that leads down to the actual file name itself, which is right here. Some file name, which is usually followed by an extension. Now, not all file systems do this, but some do. Windows, for example, does. And this also works on the Mac. But since we're working here on Windows, we can pretty much be sure that most files will have extensions. So file extensions are usually a period followed by some amount of characters, usually between 3 and 5. So let's take a look at the path helper class to see how we can use it to help us work with paths. In the path operations example, I've got my snippets file open, and I've scrolled down to the path operations section. So let's go ahead and copy over the setup code, and we'll paste it over here. Now, I'm going to be working with a path to the testfile.txt file, which we created in an earlier example. So if you've deleted it, you can go just make a new file called testfile.txt in the My Documents folder. And you can see here that I'm using the code I used in the earlier examples to get a path to the My Documents special folder here on my Windows system. Let me make this a little bit wider so you can see that. So right here, this is the My Documents path, and then we're going to put the testfile.txt on the end of it. So this is the example file that we'll be working with. If you don't have that already on your My Documents folder, you should just go make one. So what we're going to do is save this, and I'm going to go back over to the snippets and start copying over some of the exercises. So I'll start with this one, and we'll copy that and paste this over. So the first thing we're going to do is extract the directory name from the path information. And to do that, we're going to use the path class. And again, this is a static class. You're going to call most of these methods using the class name followed by the function name. In this case, it's getDirectoryName. And you pass in the path as the argument. This will parse out all of the information that's not relative to the directory name and then just return the name of the directory that's inside the path. So let's save this, and let's hit F5 to run it. And you can see here that in this case, the directory name is C:users Joe Marini documents. And it's parsed out the part that is the file name. It's giving me just the directory name. And you can see here it is a fully qualified path. And what I mean by fully qualified is it starts at the drive, which is the root, and goes all the way down to where the document is. So it gives me the entire full directory structure that leads to that file. Okay, let's go back and do some more experiments. The next one I'm going to do is get the example that extracts just the file name. So this is the opposite of the example we just showed. In this case, we're only going to ask for the file name. And in this case, we're going to use the getFileName function on the path class. And this will give me the name of the file without the directory information. So I'll save that and run it. And you can see here that now I've got the directory name, and the file name is testfile.txt. So that function parsed out all the information that was not relative to the file name and just returned the full file name with the extension. Okay, let's go back. Let's do another one. We'll copy and paste this one. In this case, we're going to get the file name without the extension. So let's scroll down here. You can see that the path class provides a function called getFileNameWithoutExtension. And again, it takes the path as an argument. So we'll save and we'll run. And in that case, I get just the file name without the directory and without the 3-letter extension on the end. Okay, let's go back. Looks like we have one more. going to copy and we're going to paste. And we'll paste this in. Okay. In this case, the path class is going to give us a random file name. Now, you might be asking yourself, why would I ever need to get a random file name? What this is going to do is ask .NET to generate some random file name for us. It's going to consist of a certain number of characters, followed by a period, followed by 3 characters. The reason you might want to do this is because sometimes in your applications, you'll need to save out temporary data. And rather than going through the exercise of trying to figure out what file name you can come up with that doesn't conflict with a file that's already existing in a particular directory, you can just call getRandomFileName. .NET will then figure out what file name you can use that doesn't conflict with a file that's already in the directory. You can then use that file to save out whatever temporary data you have and then get rid of the file. And this is just a nice little utility to save you all the trouble of having to figure out, well, can I use this file name or can I use that file name without conflicting with an existing file? So let's just go ahead and exercise and see what it does. I'm going to run this. And you can see that the random file name for the current path is this sequence of characters right here. Now, if I exit the program and run it again, you can see that it came up with another set of characters here. And it'll keep on doing that each time I run this. So that's a nice handy little utility for creating random file names that you know aren't going to conflict with existing file names in the current directory. So that's a quick introduction to the path class. I highly recommend you go look it up on MSDN and try some more examples on your own.